Welcome back, Warrior. We are on Exodus chapter 36 today, and this is Linden Temple Dedication Day today. And yes, I realize that it's kind of late to be reading all this, but we had to catch up a lot. So it says, wise-hearted men are chosen to work on the tabernacle. Moses restrains the people from donating any more material. Okay. So we had a lot of willing people, even wanted to do more than enough, right? Then Bezaleel, and Aholiab, and every wise-hearted man in whom the Lord put wisdom and understanding, to know how to work all manner of work for the service of the sanctuary, according to all that the Lord had commanded. And Moses called Bezaleel and Aholiab and every wise-hearted man in whose heart the Lord had put wisdom, even every one whose heart stirred him up to come unto the work to do it. And they received of Moses all the offering which the children of Israel had brought for the work of the service of the sanctuary, to make it withal. And he brought yet unto him free offerings every morning. Okay, so this is what I do every morning because my shoulders are always so tight, and this helps me. And helps me open up my chest cavity and my shoulders. This is why we have this. Okay, and then it says hold on. So we're reading up until verse 7 right now. Okay, verse 4. And all the wise men that wrought all the work of the sanctuary came every man from his work which they made. And they spake unto Moses, saying, the people bring much more than enough for the service of the work which the Lord commanded to make. And Moses gave commandment, and they caused it to be proclaimed throughout the camp, saying, let neither man nor woman make any more work for the offering of the sanctuary. So the people were restrained from bringing, for the stuff they had was sufficient for all the work to make it, and too much. Okay, so I love this. So Moses called Bezaleel, Aholiab, and other wise builders, and Moses gave to them all of the offerings the Israelites gave. The Israelites continued to bring offerings every morning, and the offerings came in such abundance that Moses was told to tell them it was enough, right? So Moses told the people that they were bringing more than was needed, and so the people were no longer able to bring stuff, and they were restrained. Isn't that interesting? I love that the people were serving so generously with willing hearts, and that they were bringing more than was enough. And sometimes we think the Lord requires more than enough from each of us, and we just keep doing and doing and doing, and really he's like, you're done, you don't have to offer anything else, and that was it. And sometimes I wonder if that is related to our calling length, right? Sometimes there's people who serve and they are in there for a long time, and in callings for a long time. And sometimes people serve and they're in callings for a very short amount of time. And I wonder if the reason why people get switched out, and I think everyone should have the opportunity to serve as a president of an organization. Everybody should have that experience. It is very humbling, eye-opening, and it's like a holy space, right? And so because of that, I think callings should only go for a year, but you got to get in the groove of things anyway. And so, but I wonder if some of the reason that we get new callings and we rotate through different callings is because the Lord is trying to teach us that listen, you have done more than enough, and now it's okay to be done. Right? And I like to think of it like that, because the opposite of thinking is that you didn't do enough, and that the Lord is trying to get new people that can do more. And where does that come from? Right? That is Satan. And when I was released from Young Women's President, in our previous congregation where I was president over the 12 to 18-year-olds. It was like, or about to turn 12, it was so hard, even though the Lord warned me and was like, hey, you're going to be released. I want you to know. And he gave me that time to grieve. But yet when the time came, I was a literal mess. The bishop didn't even release me himself. And I have reasons as to why that could have been. Yes, he was at the church because when I went in to be released, I literally passed him in the hallway. And I was like, I know now why someone else was assigned to do this job, because he would not have been able to handle me at the time. And the poor brother I think it was the second counselor, first counselor, who released me was like I could tell. He was just like, I've never gotten this reaction from anyone. And it was during an already very hard time when I got released. And so I think it was just everything culminating and making me think that I wasn't enough to serve. And of course they call this other superwoman to have that calling. And so to say that I felt small and inadequate and like I didn't do enough is an understatement. The emotions that I had were so strong that day, and for like a week or more even. As you can see, I am still a mess because I remember those feelings and that time. It was just a hard time for me, and Satan was working so hard overtime to just make me fall, and so yeah, it's real, and I love reading this because the Lord is going to be, we are always going to do more than the Lord requires, I think, because that's how we are. We want to do the most for him, and that's just the kind of people that we are. We're just like all in or not in at all, right? At least for me. And so when the Lord released me, I had all those, or the brother released me, I had all those feelings, and I had to really work hard to change that story that I was telling myself, that I wasn't enough, but that I had worked so hard that the Lord no longer required all of that from me anymore, and that it was going to be okay, and that he would require me he would require my talent, skills, abilities, time in a different way, and that I didn't have to be sad. And I know that the Lord did not mean for me to feel like that. That was just me feeling that because of how Satan was attacking me. And so I needed to make sure I had that distinction between the two different feelings, because I know that the Lord loves each one of us, and he would never want us to feel like that. But it is our choice to feel that way. Okay, verse 8. And every wise-hearted man among them that wrought the work of the tabernacle made 10 curtains of fine twined linen, and blue and purple and scarlet, with cherubims of cunning work made he them. Oops. That's weird. The length of the curtain was 20 and 8 cubits, and the breadth of one curtain 4 cubits. The curtains were all of one size. And he coupled the 5 curtains one unto another, and the other 5 curtains he coupled one to another. And he made loops of blue on the edge of one curtain from the selvage of the coupling. Likewise he made in the uttermost side of another curtain in the coupling of the second. 50 loops made he in one curtain, and 50 loops made he in the edge of the curtain which was in the coupling of the second. The loops held one curtain to another. And he made 50 taches of gold and coupled the curtains one unto another with the taches, so it became one tabernacle. Okay, so then began the construction of the tabernacle. The tabernacle was to be made of 10 curtains. These 10 curtains were to be made of the finest linens and dyed with rich colors of scarlet, blue, and purple. Whew, hold on, let me slow it down. Scarlet represents the Savior and his sacrifice. The color blue, like the sky, represents the heavens. And the color purple represents royalty. And then cherubim were to be embroidered upon, signifying that this was a place where heaven and earth meet. Oh, isn't that cool? So the exact dimensions of the curtains were given, and how much to attach them together, and how to attach them together was also included. And these curtains would have to be laid over the structure of the tabernacle, serving as walls in this portable temple that could easily be transported as they traveled in the wilderness. Okay, so things that I'm imagining in my mind are, have you ever gone to watch people set up event stages for like conferences and things? Well, we set up event stages and conferences, and so that's what my husband does. And so for video and audio and things, and projector screens and all the things. And so when we go to events, and if I've been on the job, then there's these giant, like massive bins that the projector screens go on. And then they have these things called skirts that they have to be like draped over. And so anyway, everything's like boxed up in this like thin, small thing. But then this massive thing comes out. And this is what I'm imagining is because like they had to put this tabernacle together whenever they needed to stop, right? And it was a massive thing. And so these guys were inventing event travel with the tabernacle, and it was a temple. I just think that's the coolest thing to think about. That the very first structure that had to be traveled with to take apart and put back together, that was not just a regular like person's tent, was the temple. And that just makes my heart sing and feel really good. Also, the linen temple dedication is going to be so cool. I totally meant to have our children read Doctrine and Covenants section 109 this week. That was what I was planning on doing. And instead I did something else. I can't remember what it was. And now I'm really sad because there's zero time to do that now. But I guess I could definitely do it after. I could definitely, what's it called? I could definitely tell them to read it after, right? But anyway, like I just, sad. And now it's so weird. I was in like this weird fog for the past 2 days. I was doing like work and trying to do stuff, and it just was not happening. It was just like trudging. Like, I don't even know how to explain trudging. The resistance, like, you know, when you are in a pool and you're trying to walk, and in the pool, you're just like, swear, I should be able to go faster than this. And you just can't. And I was so tired and exhausted the past 2 days. And I'm just like, I don't know what's wrong with me. But now I know what's up. And it was because I was feeling this way. And I took like 2 naps yesterday, which is never, like, I never do that. And now I'm like, now I know what it was. It was Satan trying to distract me and send me so much more hate and like just the worst because of the fact that we have the temple dedication today. And yesterday would have been like the best day because anyway, I am just really sad that I didn't prepare better, right? Because I needed to prepare better. But anyway, I'm not going to cry about that. I mean, I can, and I maybe could, but like, that's not going to help anybody. So All right, here we go. So verse 14, and he made curtains of goat's hair for the tent over the tabernacle. 11 curtains he made them. The length of the one curtain was 30 cubits, and 4 cubits was the breadth of one curtain. The 11 curtains were of one size, and he coupled 5 curtains by themselves and 6 curtains by themselves, and he made 50 loops upon the uttermost edge of the curtain. In the coupling of the 50 loops made he upon the edge of the curtain which coupleth the second. Okay, I forgot to mention that when you're setting up this stuff, there's also walls that you can set up similar to this description, and it's called pipe and drape is what the term is when you're ordering stuff for your event. It's called, I need to get pipe and drape, and you want to drape, off an area to make a room or whatever. And it's literally the same thing that they're talking about here, except this is more ancient times, and we have like metal poles and things like that these days to make things easier, but maybe like also maybe not as nice, because obviously this temple tabernacle that was traveling was so fancy and nice. And so there's a quote from Brigham Young here. It says, the Lord through Moses commanded a tabernacle to be built wherein should rest and be stationed. Wherein should rest and be stationed the Ark of the Covenant. And particular instructions were given by revelation to Moses how every part of said tabernacle should be constructed, even to the curtains, the number thereof, and what they should be made of, and the covering and the wood for the boards, and for the bars, and the court, and the pins, and the vessels, and the furniture, and everything pertaining to the tabernacle. Why did Moses need such a particular revelation to build a tabernacle? Because he had never seen one and did not know how to build it without revelation, without a pattern, end quote. Brigham Young, Journal of Discourses, Volume 2. Yes, because 0 people, like I'm telling you, this is the first evidence of anyone building such a space in like such a massive way. And nobody had done it before. So this is the first evidence of people building pipe and drape stuff. And it is a temple. And it is for the purpose of a temple, and it's the Lord's work. And it's just like awesome, because now anytime I see any pipe and drape, I'm going to think of the first ever time that we needed pipe and drape on the earth, and it was here for the Lord's tabernacle temple. Like, just awesome to think about. I don't know. I love that so much. And because I go to a lot of events, not as many as my husband, obviously, but it just is going to make me feel all warm and fuzzy when I see that. So, and you might think, oh, that's so weird that like they needed all these little hooks and circles and things. And now that I think of it, like I'm trying to put things up, like, yeah, they had to do those things because A, it needed to be reusable, and B, he wanted it to last, and C, it was massive. So it was like, you had to use things that you'd never done before to create a space that holy and that awesome. So anyway, verse 18, it says, and he made 50 taches of brass to couple the tent together, and that it might be one. And he made a covering for the tent of ram skins dyed red, and a covering of badger skins above that. Okay. So another protective covering. So on top of the goat's hair was a covering of ram skin dyed red, and then another covering of badger skins on top of that. Some scholars suggest that this should have been translated seal skins, or seals lived in the Red Sea, and this would have been a protective outer covering. Okay. I don't know. Okay, verse 20. And he made boards for the tabernacle of shittim wood, standing up. The length of a board was 10 cubits, and the breadth of a board 1 cubit and a half. One board had 2 tenons, equally distant one from another. Thus did he make for all the boards of the tabernacle. Construction continued, and says the walls of the tabernacle were made of boards of wood covered in gold. So the tabernacle itself was a gold structure. Shittim wood, pronounced shittim wood. Oh, okay. Thanks for letting me know what it's pronounced Now, like after I've been reading this for like how many chapters? Could be polished to shine and was strong and sturdy. One of each of the north and south walls were 20 boards, 15 feet high, overlaid with gold. That would be crazy. 15 feet high is crazy. The west wall, the back of the Holy of Holies, was made up of 6 boards plus 2 more of the corners, totaling 8 boards. Okay, go search up Traveling Tabernacle, Utah, and you'll find that there's this place that people have created that looks just like what it would have looked like back then. And they travel around and they let people like tour it and stuff. And it's really cool, actually. We've toured it and we need to do it again because we have not toured it recently. And I did ask our 12-year-old if he remembers, and he's like, I do kind of remember that, but it would be cooler to go again, you know? Anyways, verse 23, and he made boards for the tabernacle, 20 boards for the south sides, southward, and 40 sockets of silver he made under the 20 boards, 2 sockets under one board for his 2 tenons, and 2 sockets under another board for his 2 tenons. And for the other side of the tabernacle, which is toward the north corner, he made 20 boards. And for the 40 sockets of silver, 2 sockets under the one board and 2 sockets under another board. And for the sides of the tabernacle westward, he made 6 boards. And 2 boards made he for the corners of the tabernacle in the 2 sides. And they were coupled beneath and coupled together at the end thereof to one ring. And thus he did to both of them in both the corners. And there were 8 boards, and their sockets were 16 sockets of silver, under every board 2 sockets. And he made bars of shittim wood, 5. Great, now I'm gonna have to undo my wording. Okay, 5 for the boards of the one side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the boards of the other side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the boards of the tabernacle for the sides westward. And he made the middle bar to shoot through the boards from the one end to the other, and he overlaid the boards with gold and made their rings of gold to be places for bars, and overlaid the bars with gold. Now, I don't know what that actually looks like, but what it sounds like to me is like rings on the sides and a board that goes through a lot of those. Kind of like a pergola, maybe. That is what it seems like to me. I have no idea for sure, but and if I look it up, it'll take more time. But I didn't, when we were looking at the tabernacle and walking through it, I didn't notice anything above our head. So I don't know exactly. Maybe it's from each post, they have the rings and then the thing goes on and then the drape goes over that. Maybe that's how it works. Anyway, we're going to keep reading. And he made a veil of blue and purple and scarlet and fine twined linen. With cherubims made he it of cunning work. And he made thereunto 4 pillars of shittim wood and overlaid them with gold. Their hooks were of gold, and he cast for them 4 sockets of silver. And he made an hanging for the tabernacle door of blue and purple and scarlet and fine twined linen of needlework. Okay. And then it says the verse 38, and the 5 pillars of it with their hooks, and he overlaid their chapiters and their fillets with gold, but their 5 sockets were of brass. Okay, so that is the end of that. So we're making the veil of the tabernacle. Okay, so the veil was then placed between the holy place and the Holy of Holies. This veil was made of blue, purple, scarlet, and had cherubim embroidered upon it. For one who enters into the Holy of Holies, into the presence of God, must pass by angels standing guard. If you look at the diagram above, okay, hold on, let's look at the diagram. Let's look at it together. Woo. Okay. Can you see that? Okay, we're looking at that. You can pause it if you need to. Okay. If you look at the diagram above, so there, you will see that there was the most holy place and the holy place. And then the outer courtyard, all of these together made up the tabernacle, not just the tent. The courtyard was a part of the tabernacle and held great significance. Okay. Yes. Nice. Okay, there's a quote, Old Testament Institute Student Manual. It says, there are three major divisions or areas in the tabernacle: the outer courtyard, the first room of the tabernacle, proper or holy place, and the inner room or holy of holies. In modern temples, three levels of life are also depicted by rooms in the temple: the world or telestial room, the terrestrial room, and the celestial room. End quote. So the tabernacle was designed to help one learn how to progress and enter into the presence of God. One who first entered into the outer courtyard, where they would offer a sacrifice representing their faith in Christ. Then they would proceed to the laver, which was a basin of water directly in front of the tent's entrance. This symbolized baptism. Then next, they would progress into the holy place, where they can live a more spiritual life. Then they would progress further into the Holy of Holies, or into the presence of God. Therefore, the design of the tabernacle showed them how they could go from being cast out of the presence of God to entering back into his presence. However, since the higher priesthood ordinances had been removed along with the higher law, the Israelites were not allowed to pass the outer courtyard, but mediators or priests who worked in the temple could go into the holy place on their behalf, and only the high priest was allowed into the Holy of Holies. Oh, interesting. Okay. Bezalel himself used his special gifts to make the Ark of the Covenant, which was the only thing in the Holy of Holies. The Ark was a wooden chest covered in gold and had rings along the side with staves like poles inserted through them. This made it possible to carry the Ark as they traveled through the wilderness. The chest had a lid upon it, known as the mercy seat, and upon the mercy seat were two cherubim made of gold. The cherubim were facing one another, and their outstretched wings covered the mercy seat, symbolizing that angels guard the presence of God. The wings upon the angels are symbolic of the power these beings hold, as Brigham Young taught. This is our last quote, and then we'll do the read it, live it. Let me give you a definition in brief. Your endowment is to receive all those ordinances in the house of the Lord, which are necessary for you after you have departed this life, to enable you to walk back to the presence of the Father, passing the angels who stand as sentinels, being enabled to give them the key words, the signs and tokens pertaining to the holy priesthood, and gain your eternal exaltation in spite of earth and hell. Whew. Okay, we're going to stop there. And that was Brigham Young Discourses, Brigham Young Volume 2. Okay, so, just kidding. That was till the next chapter. Oh, well. Okay, so we are reading Exodus 36, and so here's our read it, live it for it. Okay. Woo! Getting our heart rate up real good. Okay. So it says, it's from verse 5. The people bring much more than enough. The people came to work with willing hearts. When generosity leads, there's more than enough. Ooh, I love that. Bring more than expected. I love that. Bring more than expected, but don't feel like, I feel like I need to add like a disclaimer. Bring more than it's expected that you are willing to give, but don't, how do I word this in a way that makes sense? Don't make it seem like the Lord is requiring more of you than he is requiring of you. Like, don't invent more stuff that the Lord is requiring of you, and just kind of just check yourself. And I'm going to do this and check myself to see, okay, the Lord asked for this. I can go twain, right? Like when you are asked to go a distance, you go twice that distance, right? I remember that scripture. But then you don't have to go 3, 4, 5 times the distance. Right? Like, it's like the basic ask, right? And we can do twice the distance, but then anything after that, it's like, okay, now you're inventing more work for ourselves than we need. I don't know. That's just like what I'm thinking about. So anyway, okay. Until Exodus chapter 37, stay strong, warrior.